Can you fix this? It's a broken heart. It was fine, but it just fell apart. It was mine, but now I give it to you. You can fix it, you know what to do. Let your love cover me like a pair of angel wings. You are my family. You are my family. Stood outside in the summer rain. Different people with a common pain. A simple box in that hard red clay is where we left him to always remain. Let your love cover me like a pair of angel wings. You are my family. You are my family. The child who played with the moon and stars waves a snatch of hay in a common barn. In the lonely house of Adam's fall lies a child, it's just a child, that's all. Crying, let your love cover me like a pair of angel wings. You are my family. You are my family. You are my family. You are my family.
Let's see, is this on? I'm thinking maybe not. Can you hear me? Not through the microphone. Okay. Elizabeth, what magic did you do to make this work? On the top of it. So this is the kind of day it is. Oh, it's under the handle. There it is. Thank you. Good morning. I'm Reverend Karen Brammer. Very, very, very honored to be among you. I'm the minister here and know in this beautiful community, and also in all of our other Unitarian Universalist communities around the world, everyone is welcome. Everyone who comes with different stories, different spiritualities, different experiences, different realities about who they love or who they are. We're all welcome here and grateful that you are here. We're also mindful that we are on the land of the Haudenosaunee, the Oneida people and the Mohawk people in particular, and learning what that means to be on stolen lands of ancestors from long ago who are living not that far from here. And so we live with the truth of all that is, and that is part of who we are as Unitarian Universalists, and welcome to this beautiful, truthful community. I'm going to invite announcements, and I know that there's one about the neurodiversity group that happens after this service. Get a cup of coffee or tea or water and come on over across the hall if you'd like to be part of that conversation. And it's really people whose minds and brains work differently from what is quote unquote normal, and we all wonder what's normal for our brains, but it has caused great difficulty for many people that they have lived with many, many differences in how their brains function. So we're just coming together to support one another and to do the radical act of welcoming everyone. So any other announcements? I know Ken will tell us more. Yep, thank you.
Good morning. I just wanted everyone to be reminded that if you do not contribute to the UUSC special collection today, or are unable to, or you're on Zoom, you can send in an envelope with a check to the church, and we'll be collecting until December 1st. So anytime after today until that time, you have to give. You can give. All right, thank you. What is US? In your order of service, there's an insert about the UUSC, and it is a international organization that fights for human rights around the world.
I'll tell you a little bit more briefly that this is where our chalice comes from. This symbol comes from the people who were working first with the service committee of the Unitarians back during World War II, and they developed a way using a logo of a chalice to get Jews out of harm's way and into safety. And we've been doing that work, the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, since then. And so, any other announcements that need to be made this morning? Okay. I am very happy to invite Liz Christian to come forward for our chalice reading and chalice lighting.
Hi, everybody. I feel honored to be in front of you all. I've been coming for a couple weeks, or actually a couple months now, and I feel so at home here, so thank you. This is Give Thanks by Libby Stoddard. Give thanks, all life is this. What shall our thanks be? How shall we frame them? Love and laughter, ready smiles, joy in our heart to make our thanks live. How should we shape them? Gentle touch, steady voice, persistent step. Whom shall we thank? Who is it we seek? God and Allah, Jehovah, sun, cloud and rain, and one another. We light this chalice with thanks.
And if you would turn in the blue hymnal to number 1010. 1010. And rise in body or spirit or both when you're ready. And this song was written to rock out a little bit, do a little bit of moving your hips or, changing your feet back and forth or swinging. Rise in body or spirit when you're ready, and we will begin.
We give thanks for this precious day, for those gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Precious day, for all gathered here Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
Beautifully done. Thank you, singers, supporters. I'm having glasses drama here. This is the best for reading, and then I can't see you. So, and they're bifocal, so eyes are changing, aren't they? What I would like to do then is invite Liz back up to do our call to worship, because it introduces the idea of, I have to, sorry, wave back, because I'm going to ask somebody to come up in a minute to show you how he says hello. But please.
Okay, this is from We Dwell Between by Burton Carley. To all we hold sacred. Between the light and the darkness we dwell, knowing both joy beyond measure and trouble beyond imagining. Keep us as we would keep each other, knowing that we belong together.
All right. So I am going to ask for whatever help people are willing to give me and each other to learn how to say thank you when we're feeling sad, or when something else is going on, or when we don't use words. And so I'm going to ask if anybody knows how to say thank you in English, in American Sign Language. Does anybody know how to say, oh, good, I'm going to ask you to help. So we have a couple of people who'd like to learn how to say thank you in sign language, but then we're going to say, I am grateful, okay? So here is, it's working? Oh, sure is. So anybody who wants to come help me can do that. But first, Asher, are you willing to come show people how you say hello with this hat? Come on up here. Come on. Well, you're going to say it back there. Asher has a hat that has ears on it that says hello, and I like you. And he might make his way up here and he might not. But in the meantime, while Asher's deciding whether he's going to come up or not, I'd like to ask you, please, to say thank you in sign language. American Sign Language is this. Quite simple. And then to say, I am grateful, is another step. It looks a little like this, but watch. So I am, yeah. And it goes just like this, a little like this. Grateful. I am grateful. And what this service is about is that all over the world, people are living with terrible things. All over the world. It's part of the human condition, I guess, one that we work to change. But you watch and you notice that people all over the world find ways to be grateful, even with the difficulty they're living with. Because gratitude, being grateful, is important for our hearts, for our own well-being, and for each other. And so I'm going to ask you if you would do it one more time. And what I'm going to do is imagine this. This is a sad face, right? That's a sad face. All the kids know how to make a sad face. And what I can do is, with a sad face, I can say thank you and still be honest about how I'm feeling, right? A lot of people feel like they can't be honest with how they're feeling, but you can be honest and say thank you when you feel grateful. Thank you. this service is about gratitude and grief together. And it is that because I think probably my primary ministry in the world, I'll be saying it over and over in different ways, is the paradox of life. That if we claim one truth and don't look wholly into life around us, we ignore a whole lot of other things that seem opposite, but in reality, they exist at the same time. And to be human and to be Unitarian Universalist, we grow our hearts enough to get better and better at holding paradox. So for me, one of the most reliable ways of being grateful when I'm in the midst of being sad or grieving the loss of someone is to go out into beauty. And so if I'm grieving, I often will want to go be by a tree, go be on the water, go sit by flowers, just be in something absolutely beautiful. In the fall or the winter Unitarian Universalist magazine that's called UU World, when you're a member, you should be getting one of those. If you're not, let me know. But UU World had in it a poem, this last magazine, that was written by Reverend Otto. Reverend Otto is a Unitarian Universalist minister in Massachusetts who is also an openly transgendered man. He writes this: "Beauty is not a distraction from the troubles of the world. We are not here to protect our hearts from breaking. A broken heart is full of beauty." Frederick Buechner said, "Here is the world. Beautiful and terrible things will happen. Don't be afraid." Reverend Otto continues, "It's the terrible things that put the beauty in sharp relief. My message to you is to allow yourself to see that beauty, to find it, to create it amidst the reality of the world, to treasure its fleetingness and let it go. It's a way to survive. It's an act of rebellion to see this true beauty around us, no matter what. May it be so." And it's difficult, in my own words, sometimes, especially when our hearts are broken with loss or regret, to see beauty or find something to be thankful for. This is a service about gratitude and grief both, because all holidays from now through January can be a rough time on a lot of people, because the holidays create an actual pressure on people to feel like they should be happy when they're not. Somehow we're supposed to feel automatically filled up with gratitude when there's so much brokenness. Somehow we're supposed to not feel the truth of grief, isolation, and sadness in the midst of this celebratory series of holidays. Now, while the holidays are a real joy for many, the holidays are also very hard on broken hearts. Many people dread the holidays. Many of us here in this room dread the holidays at least as much as many of us here in this room are excited about them and look forward to them. It's so easy to feel excluded by the commercial image of what happiness is supposed to look like, what families are supposed to look like, what people are supposed to look like, simply not being able to afford the presents that you're supposed to be showering on everybody. There are just so many things that make us feel bad about ourselves during the holidays. And the truth is that it's really hard to talk about that because there's so much cultural pressure to just celebrate and be happy. So ours is a faith community that calls on us to look for the truth, calls us to community and value each person in their wholeness within community. And that's a complex process, to say the least. Faith communities around the world call us to be grateful. The work of growing our hearts and our spirits does invite us, help us to show our gratitude. It is important for us to be able to do that. And we Unitarian Universalists are called to be grateful and to act on our gratitude with generosity or care. If I love the earth and I'm grateful for the earth, then I'm called upon to act to take care of the earth. If I'm grateful for my family, I'm called on to act to help support my family, etc. So we are called to act on our gratitude. And in the light of truth and wholeness, we're called to find the ways, make space for the reality of grief in a culture that does not know how to grieve. We really don't know how to grieve very well in this culture. So in this season of gratitude and celebration, we really can honor the truths of grief and gratitude simultaneously. So I'm going to ask, well, first I'll say that when I need to act on my gratitude, because I know there's a part of me that wants to act on my gratitude, but I feel such deep loss and sadness, that one of my favorite parts of the holidays is simply to call people and thank them for who they are in my life, to let them know that I'm grateful for them. And that's my very simple act of gratitude in the midst of having a broken heart. So, without having a broken heart, what are your favorite ways to act on your gratitude? How do you act on your gratitude? And I'm going to bring the microphone. Just if the first person would raise your hand as a brave soul, I know you will.
I was thinking about this on the way up. My dad told us that he always thanked Mom for every meal, whether he liked it or not. One of my favorite things to do is to invite somebody over and cook for them. My brother is always so appreciative.
Yeah, all right. And Glenn, after you speak, if you'd hand it back to Carol.
I guess it's obvious, but to say thank you. I appreciate you.
I just like to write handwritten notes instead of emails and texts sometimes.
I actually just wrote a poem last night for my daughters, so that's how I do it sometimes. Anyone else?
I'm very grateful for this church because it's helped me through a difficult time in the last year. And I guess by showing up, sometimes it's hard for me because I'm in Albany a lot, but I show up when I can. Thank you.
You can provide an unexpected service, something that they don't expect.
I kind of learned the hard way to express gratitude to Tammy for being there because she almost wasn't there this year for good. So I try to do it often.
I think in my case, it's those little acts of unexpected kindness, or a gift or a flower or something you pass on to a neighbor.
So every single one of us, every single one of you, acts on your gratitude in different ways and at different times. It's really hard to be told you must be grateful when you're feeling something other than gratitude. So practicing gratitude is really important. And it's also important to know how to practice what it means to live with your grief or your sadness or your isolation? What is it that you might do when you are feeling, when the grief visits you again? Different feelings. There's a Rumi poem about different feelings coming to the door, and that you open the door to every feeling and welcome that feeling because we learn from it and it's sent to us by the universe, God, Allah. But I know when and I've had many occasions for grief nowadays, that I will often simply make a paper crane and hang in a tree. Or I will sit down and pray and just say, I can't figure this out. I don't know who to ask for help, but I need help. And often it's just a beautiful way. It brings more beauty into my life to be able to say, I need help. So how do you act on your grief or your sadness or your isolation? Thank you, Richard. And then you could pass it to the next person.
Sure. For me, the thing that I do is find somebody else who's grieving and do something nice for them. It always helps me feel better.
I really love this topic, Reverend Karen. You know, I have 4 daughters, and one of my daughters lives with a really serious condition, and her quality of life is so less than mine that it's hard to sometimes to feel grateful, you know, when you know that, you know, someone you love is living so far away from what you live. But I want to share this because it was life-changing and it really talks about grief. You know, during the pandemic, I got to stop. I got off the wheel, you know, and I got a chance to start grieving some real losses in my life. But one day I'm sitting in my favorite chair looking out over the water, right? And I'm crying. I mean, I'm really crying, you know. And all of a sudden, I see this bird who's on this truck's mirror and dancing because the bird thinks that, you know, he's dancing for another bird, right? In the mirror, you know, and he's just having a great old time, you know? And he, you know, get off the mirror, then come back and do it again. And all of a sudden, I just started laughing hysterically. And I say this because that paradox that you talk about, it also commissions us to look for those openings, you know, and to take that opening when it comes. So I just wanted to share that the paradox is always there in grief, but those openings also come along, you know, and open us up to lighten up and experience both joy and sorrow and not have to choose one over the other. So thank you for letting me share that.
I'd like to add to that. That was a great point. And you talked about nature, Karen. Nature is our purest form of life. And just being in it, it reminds us that we're meant to grieve, but we're not meant to stay in grief. We're meant to move through grief. And whether it's a leaf falling or a bird dancing or a dragonfly unexpectedly coming in front of your face, nature just is a beautiful container in when we're happy and when we're grieving.
I think grief and gratefulness are very connected. And so when I'm grieving, I try to remember that it's because I should be grateful that I loved or cared, and that I can't have one without the other, and that's the paradox.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And my guess is all of you are all the time having to live this. because we lose things constantly. And I don't know that we ever get through grief. I know for myself it's more about living with grief and having a different relationship with grief over time. But I am grateful that you are brave and willing to bring your whole selves here and to share your whole selves with one another. There is a book called Bearing the Unbearable. If anyone would like to borrow it from me, you're most welcome. Author Joanne Cacciatore writes, "We might never accept that our child or parent or spouse or grandchild or friend or loved one has died, but we can learn to accept how we feel about that loss, where in us the pain is most acute, its dimensions, its texture, its tenor, its depth. And over time, grief can morph from a dreaded, unwanted intruder to something more familiar and less terrifying. A companion, perhaps. And in my words, the full and honest existence of both gratitude and grief in our lives is real, essential, and like Deb said, a paradox. Our culture is particularly unhelpful when it comes to grief and when it comes to complex truths, and especially unhelpful around holidays. How we can learn the truth about what colonization, for instance, has done and continues to do to Indigenous people and people of many races. How do we learn the truth of that at Thanksgiving and find ways to act on our gratitude? Some of us respond by denying truth, by feeling guilty and getting stuck there. Not being Indigenous, not being a person of color, not having suffered in particular ways because of our colonial structure is a reality for those of us who have white faces or are understood to be white or know ourselves to be white. We have a complex road to walk of both acknowledging the truth of our culture and also make room in our hearts for gratitude and acting on gratitude. That's the key, is acting on gratitude. To live with a paradox is hard. So much hurt, and so many of us live with abundance of love and material resources. It's hard to hold the full truth of life. But our faith calls us to grow into being more and more able to do just that, to hold and act on the full truth of life as we continue to learn the depth and the complexity of what's real. We can practice accepting and learning to live with our feelings and grow our hearts more and more, and that's countercultural. That's even revolutionary, honestly. Then practicing gratitude in the midst of that truth is another way to grow our hearts and to live our faith out in the world. A tiny example might be to find one gratitude in the midst of grief and let it be a quiet reminder, a gentle reminder to acknowledge the complexity of our feelings and act on gratitude simply by signing, "Thank you," or I am grateful. And in that spirit, I'll invite you to turn your gray hymnal to page 108. How can I keep from singing? 108. And please rise in body or spirit or both as you're able and ready.
My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, the far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth it liveth. What though the darkness round me close? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
Please be seated. In whatever way you open your hearts and minds to what you consider most essential, most core to life, please do that now, looking out the window, looking at your hands, closing your eyes, feet on the floor, whatever is what feels most centering to you. I invite you to do so. And in this space, with one another, we're so grateful for the opportunity to learn to listen to how people are different from us, to learn how to open our hearts and our minds to growing. And we also carry so many concerns for the world. All that's happening in Israel and Gaza, all the anti-Semitism that's rearing its head, the many forms that systemic oppression takes. There is so much. And here we are to honor all that is wrong, to honor, to name, to be true to what's real, and also to claim for ourselves and then give back out into the larger world the core of love, the light that exists, the beauty that is among us and on this planet. And so, with all the depth and complexity of the truth in our lives, we sit for one more moment. Let ourselves be who we are. In the name of all that's holy and in all the holy names, blessed be and amen. The special offering will be taken now, and those who are able to bring the baskets around, this special offering goes to the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, who, by the way, only does its work in partnership with leaders on the ground in oppressed communities. And so that makes their work particularly unique among organizations there to help Thank you, Melissa. Before I say our closing words, would you look on your order of service for the words to extinguish our chalice, please? We again from Joanne Cacciatore, from Bearing the Unbearable. To fully inhabit grief is to hold the contradictions of the great mystery. That loss shattered us, and we can become whole. Grief empties us, and we are filled with emotion. Fear paralyzes us, and we can lend courage to another. We mourn our beloved's absence, and we invoke their presence. We cease to exist as we once were, and we become more fully human. We know the darkest of all nights, and in so doing can bring the light of our loved ones, our hopes, and our vision into the world. We are the paradox. We are the bearers of the unbearable. And we do so with love. May it be so.
No one here to guide you. Now you're on your own. Only me beside you. Still you're not alone. No one is alone. Truly, no one is alone. Sometimes people leave you halfway through the wood. Others may deceive you. You decide what's good. You decide alone. But no one is alone. People make mistakes. Fathers, mothers, people make mistakes. Holding to their own. Thinking they're alone. Honor their mistakes. Everybody makes one another's terrible mistakes. Witches can be right. Giants can be good. You decide what's right. You decide what's good. Just remember, someone is on your side. Someone else is not. While we're seeing our side, maybe we forgot they are not alone. No one is alone. Hard to see the light now. Just don't let it go. Things will turn out right now. We can make it so. Someone is on your side. No one is alone.
Yay. Thank you, Melissa.